At first glance, Carolyn Jones's eerie, gothic presence on screen seemed like sheer acting genius. But fans have often asked, where did that dark inspiration truly stem from? In this video, we'll peel back the layers of Carolyn's life to reveal the real events that may have fueled the chilling intensity she brought to her roles. Born on April 28, 1930 in Amarillo, Texas, Carolyn Sue Jones entered a world already weighed down by hardship. Her father, Julius Alfred Jones, was a barber, and her mother, Chloe Jeanette, a homemaker who struggled with agoraphobia. From an early age, Carolyn displayed an innate flair for performance. Her imagination and gift for storytelling stood out. But growing up during the Great Depression wasn't easy. Her father battled to support the family, and eventually, the pressure fractured their home. Julius walked out, leaving Chloe to raise Carolyn and her sister alone. Unable to work due to her phobia, Chloe moved the family into her parents' home. Initially, this provided a sense of safety, but the household soon became tense. Carolyn's step-grandfather, the sole breadwinner, had a volatile temper. His frequent outbursts left Carolyn deeply afraid, often forcing her to lock herself in a room just to feel secure. Around the same time, Carolyn fell seriously ill with a lung infection. She was bedridden for months, missing school and the ordinary joys of childhood. Confined indoors, she spent her time absorbed in movie magazines and music, unable to attend theaters or even go outside. It was during these lonely months that her fascination with Hollywood began to bloom. Her mother, a film lover herself, had named her daughters after movie stars, Carolyn after Carole Lombard and her sister Bette after Bette Davis. Those names would become more than just tributes. They became Carolyn's destiny. As she matured, Carolyn was resolute in her desire to study acting. Her dream was to attend the Pasadena Playhouse. But her step-grandfather had different plans. He wanted her to go to Southern Methodist University and pursue a more practical profession, law or medicine. Carolyn refused. When he attempted to enroll her anyway, she threw herself onto the steps of the rotunda in protest, crying and begging to follow her heart. Her emotional plea worked. He relented, and at just 17, she was accepted into the Playhouse in 1947. Though he paid her tuition, Carolyn took on a job at the Ring Theater to support herself. When a lead actress left suddenly, Carolyn stepped in, proving she had both the talent and dedication for the stage. During her time at school, she fell in love with fellow student Don Donaldson. The two married in August 1950, less than a year into their relationship. Carolyn was just 19, Don was 27. Their age difference caused whispers and raised eyebrows, with some even calling the relationship inappropriate. The marriage didn't last. Within a year, it ended in divorce. Heartbroken but unshaken, Carolyn threw herself into her career. Despite graduating among the top of her class, Hollywood proved a tough nut to crack. Talent alone wasn't enough. To meet the strict beauty standards of the era, she made the painful decision to completely reinvent herself. She dyed her hair blonde, trained to lose her Texas drawl, refined her walk and posture, and updated her wardrobe. She even underwent plastic surgery. It was a dramatic transformation, aimed solely at boosting her chances in show business. The decision paid off professionally, but left emotional scars. Years later, in an episode of Dr. Kildare, she played a woman who gains attention after undergoing nose surgery, an experience she admitted hit close to home. Her big break came when a Paramount talent scout saw her on stage. Impressed, the scout arranged a screen test, which led to a 6-month contract with the studio. It was a moment of triumph. Her mother cried with joy, and even her tough grandfather was pleased. Carolyn made her film debut in 1952 with The Turning Point, an apt title for the moment her life began to change. But fame didn't come overnight. Despite her success, she wasn't earning much. To make ends meet, her sister Bette moved in so they could share rent. Desperate to stay afloat, Carolyn took every opportunity she could. She acted in small theater productions and made early TV appearances, including Gruen Playhouse in 1952 and Dragnet in 1953. Then came the turning point, House of Wax. In the 1953 3D horror film, Carolyn portrayed Kathy Gray, a woman transformed into a statue of Joan of Arc. Her eerie performance captivated both audiences and critics. As one of the earliest 3D films ever made, House of Wax marked a breakthrough in her career and helped cement her status as a rising star in Hollywood. As her career began to rise, Carolyn crossed paths with Aaron Spelling. The connection was instant, genuine, and electric. Both were dreamers hustling through Hollywood's unpredictable terrain, and they bonded over their shared ambition and sharp sense of humor. Carolyn longed for a proposal, but Aaron held back. His writing career hadn't yet taken flight, and he didn't feel financially ready to settle down. But Carolyn wasn't one to wait idly. In a bold and unconventional move for a woman in the 1950s, she proposed to him. They married shortly afterward. However, married life quickly diverged from the fantasy Carolyn had imagined. She had no intention of becoming the stereotypical 1950s housewife. Her heart remained firmly with her career, and the idea of having children simply because it was expected never appealed to her. Deep down, she understood that motherhood would require sacrifices she wasn't willing to make, sacrifices that would carry a price later on. Professionally, her star continued to rise. She scored a part on Alfred Hitchcock Presents, playing a secretary who aids her boyfriend in an art heist. It was a suspenseful role that hinted at bigger things to come. Then, a major opportunity came her way. A Columbia Pictures casting executive saw potential in her and considered her for the coveted role of Lorene in From Here to Eternity, one of the year's most anticipated films. But just before her pivotal screen test, disaster struck. She fell gravely ill with pneumonia, spiking a 104-degree fever that landed her in the hospital. Unable to make the audition, she lost the part to Donna Reed, who would go on to win an Oscar for the performance. The blow was crushing. That missed chance left a scar that never fully healed. Still, Carolyn pressed forward. Determined not to disappear from the industry, she accepted every opportunity, even those considered second-rate. One such role in The Bachelor Party required a complete transformation. She chopped her hair short, dyed it black, and reinvented her image. Though her screen time was brief, just 8 minutes, her performance made waves. Critics raved, and she earned an Academy Award nomination for Best Supporting Actress. But once again, fate intervened. On Oscar night, the award went to Miyoshi Umeki. The loss stung, but the nomination was a triumph in itself, and it only fueled Carolyn's drive. By 1958, she landed what should have been her most prominent role yet, opposite Elvis Presley in King Creole. Yet history seemed to repeat itself. As production began, Carolyn fell ill again, struggling through scenes while battling a persistent fever. Elvis, ever the charmer, teased her reluctance to kiss him on set, joking, "Maybe it'll get me out of the army." Despite her condition, the film was a box office success. Still, the success felt hollow. At 34, Carolyn sensed her career was teetering. She hadn't yet secured the leading lady status she craved, and her momentum was waning. By the early 60s, the buzz that once surrounded her had grown quiet, and the roles grew scarce. Meanwhile, Aaron Spelling's career caught fire. As his writing flourished, he became the more successful half of their marriage. The shift in dynamics bred tension. Their relationship began to fracture under the weight of differing dreams and unmet expectations. In an attempt to preserve their Hollywood lifestyle, Carolyn leaned into opulence. They began constructing a lavish 13-room mansion complete with tennis courts, deep bathtubs, and even a soda fountain. She draped herself in designer furs and sparkling jewels, curating an image of grandeur. But the glamour couldn't disguise the growing rift. Aaron began staying out late, and the emotional distance between them widened. By August 1964, their marriage came to an end. Carolyn had always envisioned herself as a movie star, not a television actress. But that changed when she received an unexpected offer, a lead role in a new daytime series. It wasn't just any part. It was eccentric, dark, and brimming with wit. It felt made for her. That's how Carolyn became Morticia Adams in the Addams Family. She joined a stellar ensemble, John Astin as her passionate on-screen husband Gomez, Lisa Loring and Ken Weatherwax as Wednesday and Pugsley, Blossom Rock as Grandmama, Jackie Coogan as Uncle Fester, and Ted Cassidy towering as Lurch. When the show premiered on September 18, 1964, it caused an immediate stir. Audiences were taken aback by the overt chemistry between Morticia and Gomez, especially in a time when sitcoms portrayed romance with restraint. Gomez famously trailed kisses along Morticia's arms, a move that scandalized conservative viewers. Portraying Morticia wasn't just about the iconic look. While the skin-tight dress certainly made an impression, so snug it took Carolyn 20 minutes to remove, it was her performance that brought the character to life. At one point, the costume had to be altered with Velcro just so she could move comfortably. Despite the wardrobe challenges, Carolyn thrived. Though it wasn't the big-screen career she had dreamed of, the role made her a household name. At 35, she finally experienced the stardom she had long chased. The Addams Family flipped the standard American sitcom on its head, delivering something gothic, clever, and refreshingly weird. Carolyn infused Morticia with her own personality, lending the character dry wit and impeccable comedic timing. She helped elevate the show beyond a mere novelty, but the success was fleeting. Despite strong fan support, the show was abruptly canceled in 1966 after just 2 seasons. Carolyn was heartbroken. She had given her all to the role and wasn't ready for it to end. She took on a few film roles afterward, but audiences struggled to separate her from Morticia. Frustrated with being typecast, she returned to her theatrical roots. She joined the Broadway cast of The Homecoming, but found herself miserable in the role. In her search for comfort, she turned to her vocal coach, Herbert Green. Their professional relationship soon became romantic, and they married in December 1968, her 3rd time down the aisle. The union raised eyebrows. Herbert was known to be cold and lacked the warmth Carolyn needed. Worse, he convinced her to quit acting and move with him to Palm Springs. Years passed, 7 to be exact. Eventually, Carolyn realized how much of herself she had sacrificed. At 46, she ended the marriage and returned to Los Angeles, eager to reclaim her identity and career. She slowly reestablished herself through guest appearances and stage work. Boredom soon pushed her in a new direction, writing. Frustrated by the inauthenticity she saw in romance novels, Carolyn decided to write her own. She wanted something raw, honest, and unfiltered. "I was tired of reading books by women who didn't know what they were talking about," she said. What started as a creative exercise became deeply personal, forcing her to confront her own truths. The book stirred controversy. Some readers believed it was a veiled critique of Hollywood. Others took offense at the candid tone. Carolyn confessed, "Some people stopped speaking to me, some because they were in the book, and others because they weren't." Still, it became the most meaningful project of her life. Writing, she discovered, offered a new kind of intimacy, with no cameras, no crew, just her words and the reader. Love found her again in the theater. She fell for fellow actor Peter Bailey Britton, not realizing her time was running short. During a flight from Dallas to Los Angeles, Carolyn suddenly began vomiting blood. She was rushed to the hospital, where doctors found a mass in her stomach. At first, she thought it was an ulcer, but it turned out to be colon cancer. The diagnosis was shocking. At 51, she chose to keep it private. She endured chemotherapy and surgery in silence, never stepping away from work. Even when her illness advanced, she continued appearing on the soap opera Capitol, performing from a wheelchair when necessary. Determined to live fully, she married Peter in September 1982 in a touching ceremony. She wore a lace and ribbon cap to hide the hair loss from treatment. Friends admired her unwavering spirit. Nicholas Walker, her co-star, recalled, "That woman had unbelievable courage. She had surgery on Monday, was filming again by Friday, and got married that Sunday." By July 1983, Carolyn slipped into a coma in her West Hollywood home. She passed away on August 3, 1983, at just 53. Her memorial was held at Glasban Willen Mortuary in Altadena, California. Before her death, she had thoughtfully donated her Morticia gown and wig to the Academy of Motion Picture Arts and Sciences. Her husband later gifted a collection of Adams family scripts to UCLA. Though she endured pain, loss, and heartbreak, Carolyn left behind a legacy shaped by resilience and grace. Beneath the long black gown was a woman who defied expectations, chased her dreams, and left an indelible mark on Hollywood.